All right, greetings, ladies. Good day, whatever time you are watching this video. Now, this video is to teach you or show you the purpose of calculated queries. Right? Now, where we left off in the SBA before you go off for the summer break, we did tables, we did relationships, enforcing referential integrity, ensuring that we have our primary keys and our foreign keys connected. We looked at reports, we did our reports, and we started queries. Now, again, just to reiterate, the purpose of doing or carrying out a query is to search throughout the data within a database. Now, this is not new to you. We've done 2 out of 4 queries already. One we did in class, well, both we did in class. One that was done where I showed you the process of creating a query using Query Wizard, and the second one where you attempted or you completed the second query, which was a complex query, which is the account department query. Now, ladies, we are moving on to the third query. The third query says you are to calculate the number of workers for each department, and you should name this query department query. Now, the key word here, ladies, is each department, and you are to calculate the number of workers for each department. So, there are two important things. We're going to count the number of workers, as well as we need to identify how many workers belong to a particular department. Now, how do we do this? One, you're going to follow me. We're going to go to create, because that's where we go to create anything that we're going to create, any other objects that we're going to create. This is where we go. When we come here under queries, we're going to use Query Wizard. Of course, we know we use Query Wizard because it is the simpler form of designing a query, because it gives you templates, it gives you menus, and it allows you to just drag and drop, right? When we go to Query Wizard, we're going to click on Simple Query, click OK. We're going to look in this section, ladies. This section, remember I told you, in this section, it will give you a list of all the tables and all the queries that we have in our database. Now, if you look on the left side here, you will see we have 3 tables: category, employees pay data, personal data, and we have 4 queries here, right? Now, if you look on in the drop down menu here, we're going to be using the personal data table. When I click on that personal data table, you realize that underneath the available fields, all the fields that are available inside of the personal data table will show up on this section. Now, for the third query, again, the query says calculate the number of workers for each department. So really and truly, the only field that we will need from this table is the department table. Hope you guessed that one. Good. Now, if you clearly I walk you through all of this already. So you realize when I click this, the single arrow, the greater than sign, that points over, it puts over or moves over the available field that I had selected. And of course, you know the one that I was highlighted, right? So clearly, department name move over to the selected area. Now I'm going to just click next, and I'm going to change the name of the query. Remember, the query said what? It was supposed to be called department query, but I already did this already. So I'm going to just call it something else. I'm going to call it department query, QRY 2. I'm going to put it as 2. I'm going to modify the query design and I'm going to click finish. Now, in this section, ladies, you realize that if I should click run and run this query, you realize that I'm seeing all the departments, right? I'm seeing a list of departments. They are not grouped together. And it means therefore that I would have to do what? Count through all of them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to design view and I am going to click on totals. If you look in the ribbon, you should see totals. When you click on totals, ladies, you realize that the total pops up here. In this section, you should be seeing my cursor moving. I'm going to undo totals and you're going to see that the total here is removed. Good. I hope you see that change. Now, I'm going to do totals again because we need to group the data so that it is not jumbled. We don't see the list as though we saw it a while ago. Right? So I'm going to click on totals. You realize that we're at total here. It says group by. I'm going to click in that box, in that cell. And when I click on it, I'm going to click on the drop down menu. It is going to say group by what? Right? Group by. I'm not going to select anything just yet. I'm going to sort the data. So I want to sort the department name by what? In ascending order. And of course, when you know this is selected, the show, when it is selected, when you click run, the data will appear. You realize that it is showing. So we are seeing that the data is now grouped by accounts, human resource, and operation instead of how it was showing earlier, where we had the list of the same thing being repeated. Following? I do hope so. I'm going to go back to design view, ladies. When I go to design view, we're going to now do what we call a calculated query. Now, I'm going to teach you calculated query in the next few minutes, but I wanted to just show you how is it we're able to count the data that we have in the department's table or the department names, how many workers we have in each department. Now, what I'm going to do, ladies, I'm going to write count of. I'm going to put colon and I'm going to select the field that I want to count the information from. And the field is department name. I'm going to click out of it. When I click out of it, you realize, you see, total come up here underneath this field, that the new field that I've created. The new field that I've created is called count of workers. Count of workers. That's the new field that I've created. And the new field that I've created comes before the colon. Right? Are you seeing that? I'm going to extend this field so that you can see. This count of worker is a new field that I've created and it comes before the colon. After the colon, we have the department name because we want to count how many workers belong to each department. Now, when I click here, group by, I'm going to select whether or not I want to add the values, average the values, find the minimum, maximum variables, or I want to count. In this case, we want to count the values, right? So I'm going to select count. And when I select count, ladies, I'm going to run the query again. Good. Now, you should see, I'm going to extend this here. You should see what? The new field that I've created is called what? Count of worker. And in this query, ladies, you are seeing where what? I have what? 6 members that belong to accounts department, 7 members that belong to the human resource department, and 7 members that belong to the operations department. Very good, ladies. If you follow this instruction and you get anything like this, The values here may differ for you because remember your data is different from this person's data that I'm using, right? In this case, ladies, if you get anything like this, then query 3 is completed. Job well done. All right. I'm going to save this now and close it off. And see, if we open it back here, it is called what? Department query 2 and the data is there. If you look in the design view section, the information is there. Good. I'm going to close that off. Now, ladies, I want to tell you about calculated query. What is a calculated query? A calculated query is a database query that performs calculation on data that is stored in one or more fields and the result is displayed as a new field. Now, instead of just retrieving data, a calculated query uses mathematical formulas or expressions to create new information or what we call results from the existing data that is found inside of the tables. Now, how would you normally calculate a person's weekly pay? Think about it. We would say what? Weekly pay is equal to what? Hours worked, the number of hours worked, times the hourly rate, right? And times just mean multiply. So in this case, we would say what? Weekly pay equal hours work times hourly rate. However, let me see if I can pull up a Word. Hopefully, I can pull up a Word document and you're able to see. Hopefully. All right. I'm going to type it up, ladies. In maths class, mathematics class, we would say what? Weekly pay is equal to hours worked times hourly rate. Hours worked times hourly rate. All right. This is in maths class. However, in IT class, specifically database, we do the calculation a little different. We do the calculation a what? A little different. We do it a little different. How do we do this, ladies? All right. How we do this? What we would say, ladies, is we would, of course, create a new field, and that new field would call weekly pay. It would be called what? Weekly pay. However, instead of using the equal sign, we'll replace the equal sign with a colon, right? So the new field that we generated comes before the colon. In maths class, it would come before the equal sign, right? So that's the difference. So we could play colon hours worked times hourly rate. Are you seeing this, ladies? Weekly pay, hours worked times hourly pay. Wow. And this is how we differentiate between a calculated query, calculated query, than calculations in maths. I hope you get that, ladies. Right? So again, in maths class, you say weekly pay equal hours work times hourly rate. In IT, especially calculated query, we say weekly pay colon hours work times hourly rate. The difference here, ladies, we replace the equal sign in maths class with a colon in IT class, specifically in calculated queries. All right. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna save this as browse to the desktop. Calculated queries. All right. All right. So we are back at question 4, query 4. With query 4, it is also a calculated query. It's also a calculated query. The query says, the bank has realized records for the second quarter profit. The board of directors has therefore voted to give a 15% bonus of gross pay to all members of staff for the 40th week. Calculate the bonus and show this along with the what? ID number, first name, last name, gross pay, and the department of all employees. So we're going to do this now, ladies. And again, if we're gonna create an object, in this case, we're gonna create a query, we're going to go to create. When we go to create, we're going to go to query wizard. Again, we select the table that we want the information from, which is the personal data table. In this case, we want they said what? The ID number, the first name, the last name, they want the department of all employees, as well as the gross pay. But as you can tell, ladies, the gross pay is not in this table. It's not in the personal data table. We can find it in what? The employees pay data table, or employees data table. So we're going to select the gross pay from this particular table, and we're going to select that particular field. Now we should have 5 fields selected. The ID, first name, last name, department, and the gross pay. We're going to click next. We're going to rename the query. The query is supposed to be called bonus query. I already did that already. So I'm going to call it bonus query 2. And I'm going to click modify and then finish. After I've finished selecting the data, this is what the query looks like when we run it, right? So we have the ID, first name, last name, department, and gross pay. Now, in order for us to do the calculated query, remember again, I said what? With the calculated query, we are creating what? A new field and doing some calculation in that particular field. Now, remember the calculation that we're supposed to do is what? 15% of gross pay. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the new field, and the new field is going to be called bonus. It's going to be called bonus. 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 And again, remember we said what? As long as you're creating a new field, that new field automatically comes before what? Equal or colon? Somebody tell me. Answer in your heads. Equal or colon? All right, the colon. Very good. So the colon. After we put the colon, we're going to select the calculation. The calculation is gross pay times 15%. 15% is in decimal is 0.15. Excuse me? Hey, I'm recording something. 15% in gross pay is 15% in decimal is 0.15. So I'm just going to put that in brackets. Ensure that it is showing give me a minute. It's giving me a little issue. I'm gonna delete it and do it again. Bonus bonus colon gross pay times or no, it's not the sorry, the bracket is that bracket. GROSS gross pay times 0.15. Good, very good. And then you see this is check. Ensure that this is checked as we will not see the calculation. Then when we click run, we should be able to see the bonus that is given to all employees at a 15% increase. I hope that is clear for you ladies. And that is the end of the queries that you need to do. Now, again, this query, ladies, or this database component is due on the 3rd of August, 2026, along with your website's component. The entire database section must be finished. Tables, queries, report, and the forms. I am going to do a forms video and send it again sometime in this week. Is that clear, ladies? All right. You have yourself a great rest of your day. I hope you all get the understanding of calculated query. And again, the purpose of doing a calculated query is to what? Perform calculation on existing data, as well as, and by creating queries is just by what? Performing calculations on that data from one or more fields and then display them in a new field. That is the end of this component.